Picture this, 1692, a small village in colonial America. A single scream, a single accusation, is all it takes to end your life. Imagine someone points a finger at you and cries out, "They're a witch." You'd have almost no way to defend yourself. It sounds like something out of a horror movie, but for 20 completely innocent people, this was a terrifying reality. They were killed because of nothing more than fear, rumors, and mass panic. This is the story of the Salem Witch Trials. In the cold winter of 1692, Salem Village, Massachusetts, seemed perfectly peaceful. Snow blanketed the rooftops, church bells rang softly, and families gathered around their warm fires. But beneath this calm surface, something dark and sinister was brewing. It all started when two young girls, Betty Paris and Abigail Williams, began acting strangely. They would scream without reason, contort their bodies, and claim invisible forces were pinching and tormenting them. Doctors were baffled. They couldn't find any physical cause. In an era where superstition often overshadowed science, the only explanation the local doctor could offer was a chilling one. The girls were under the influence of witchcraft. That single word, witchcraft, spread through Salem like wildfire. The once calm community was now gripped by terror. Neighbors whispered that the devil had come to their village. Soon, the afflicted girls began pointing fingers. They accused 3 women of tormenting them: Tituba, an enslaved woman from the Caribbean; Sarah Good, a homeless beggar; and Sarah Osborne, an elderly woman who rarely attended church. Within days, these 3 women were arrested. The town that had once prayed together now turned on itself, consumed by suspicion. The accusations multiplied. Anyone who didn't fit the community's strict Puritan ideals became a target. Did you argue with your neighbor? They might claim you cursed their livestock. Did your child get sick? Someone might blame the woman who walked past your house that morning. If you were different, or even if someone simply disliked you, you could be accused of being a witch. The panic spiraled out of control. Within weeks, more than 100 people were arrested and thrown into jail. Salem's courtroom, which should have been a place of justice, became a theater of fear and confusion. The judges accepted a dangerous and bizarre form of evidence called spectral evidence. This meant that if an accuser claimed, "I saw her spirit hurting me in my dream," the court treated it as undeniable truth. There was no need for physical proof, no witnesses, no logic, just raw, unfiltered fear. Faced with an impossible choice, some of the accused confessed to witchcraft even though they were innocent. Why? Because confessing often meant they could avoid being executed. But those who held on to the truth, who insisted on their innocence, faced the ultimate penalty. Among them was a courageous, elderly farmer named Giles Corey. When he refused to enter a plea of guilty or not guilty, hoping to protect his land for his family, the court ordered a brutal punishment. They laid him on the ground and placed heavy stones on his chest, one by one, to press a confession out of him. But Giles Corey refused to break. With his last breaths, he looked at his torturers and defiantly uttered 2 words: "More weight." He died under the crushing weight, a martyr for the truth. By the time the hysteria subsided in late 1692, 19 people had been hanged, and Giles Corey had been pressed to death. Over 100 more languished in cold, overcrowded jails. Families were shattered, children were orphaned, and the community was left drowning in guilt and paranoia. Eventually, influential leaders outside of Salem began to question the madness. Ministers, judges, and even the governor realized the trials were based on nothing more than superstition and fear. They saw that dreams and visions should never have been accepted as legal evidence. The chaos finally came to an end. The remaining prisoners were released, and the use of spectral evidence was banned. Years later, some of the judges publicly apologized, and the government paid compensation to the families of the victims. Today, the Salem Witch Trials remain one of the most haunting episodes in American history. It's a powerful and chilling reminder of what can happen when fear replaces reason, when rumor becomes more powerful than truth, and when a community turns on its own. The story continues to fascinate us, not just for its tragedy, but for the warning it holds, a warning about how easily ordinary people can be swept up in hysteria. And it leaves us with an unsettling question. If you had lived in Salem in 1692, would you have stood with the fearful crowd, or would you have stood for the innocent? Thanks for watching. If you found this story as compelling as I do, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more deep dives into history's most incredible moments. See you next time.